Greetings again, everybody. It's Friday. It's Mad Dodge's stream, and I'm in charge again. So, this week we're having a little chinwag about drones. Do we need them? Do they work? Do they actually act as a decent deterrent? On to the left of me, in the blue corner, we have the almightily powerful MC to argue that drones are the way forward and will sort out all of life's little problems. And in the pink corner, we have Mad Dodge, who is going to argue like the big sissy that he is.
In the corner.
Yeah. You don't seem very impartial right now.
Don't argue with the moderator. The moderator's decision is final. And yes, in the pink corner, with his best French attitude, is Mad Dodge arguing that drones actually do nothing at all and won't protect us, like the complete little sissy wussbag that he is. And I'd just like to announce before we start that MC has already won this argument. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? I will let MC go first, because I think he has a couple of opinions he'd like to get out there. So off you go, sir.
Okay. Oh, the terrorists outside are frightful, but the napalm so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let us drone, let us drone, let us drone. Do you have a comeback now, Mad Dodge?
Well, I don't have a witty song that I spent the last hour preparing, but okay. So I'm not only going to talk about drones.
Are you going to hand out a baguette?
I'm not only going to talk about drones here tonight. I'm also going to talk about this idea of blowback, which is a direct result of the drone strikes. And yes, MC, the civilians being killed in them.
They're not civilians. Okay.
Are they holding AK-47s? Will
they be holding AK-47s? You have no idea. Are you going to sit up there and tell me any doesn't matter? They're not.
It does matter. You're taking their life before they even committed a crime.
No, you're targeting other individuals, and people get in the way. All right, you're in a war situation.
Have we declared war on Yemen?
Yes, we've declared war on terrorism. And guess what? You like it or not, we're not trying to bring down the government.
My question, sir. That wasn't my question.
Are we trying to bring down the government in Yemen? No.
Has Congress declared war on Yemen?
No, but are we trying to? Are the drone strikes intended?
We are violating their
airspace. It doesn't matter.
And we are bombing their people.
It doesn't matter. But they have authorized that. See, you're looking for, have we declared war on Yemen, on the nation of Yemen? We're not at war with the nation of Yemen, and we're not trying to topple the nation of Yemen's government. We're not trying to destroy the nation of Yemen. We are trying to kill terrorists. And have we declared, hold on a second. And has Congress declared war on terrorists? Yes, they have.
Which is completely illogical. Declaring war on an ideology is just retarded. That's no way to fight a war. But that's not what we're here to debate about. But the thing is, what about the Pakistani airspace, which they have told us repeatedly to stop droning in their airspace? And we do it anyway.
Okay, so
that is a violation of international law. What do you mean? So who cares?
So international law trumps U.S. law and U.S. security? Don't think so.
Some people like Rand Paul would argue that the drones violate the United States Constitution and the United States law.
Rand Paul can argue that all he freaking wants, but he's a member of the Senate, and whether he likes it or not, the Senate has authorized that use of force. Now, he may not like it. He may say, "Hey, we're doing the wrong thing." But whether or not it's legal or not, no, it's legal.
I don't think it is legal. It's just like it wouldn't be legal for us to, as an example,
the only reason you're saying it's not legal
and try and take shit from it.
The only reason you're trying to say that it's not legal is because you just disagree with it. Was there a legal process followed for the use of force in these cases? And the answer is yes. Not in secret. It was done via Congress. Congress did vote on it. Now, you may not like that fact. You may not like the way they voted, all right? But the reality is they have voted for an open-ended use of force against all terrorists.
So we're gonna start drone striking. What fucking Ireland if the Irish Republican Army pops back up? They're terrorists. Let's bomb them.
If the Irish Republican Army sits up there and pops back up, and Ireland says we're going to protect them and we're going to sit up there and fund them and train them, then yeah, I suspect that we would start bombing them and doing drone strikes in Ireland. But you know what Ireland is not going to do? Ireland's not going to do that. Ireland's not going to sit up there and have open training camps in the middle of their territory, all right, or operating in the central city of Dublin, all right in front of everybody, thumbing their nose at the rest of the international community to do it. But Pakistan has, and so has Afghanistan, and so has a lot of those freaking countries in those areas.
Well, Afghanistan's a different story. We declared war on Afghanistan. I have no problem.
Where do you think the people are hiding? They're going back and forth between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're just going to sit up there and go, well, they crossed the border, so we can't do anything?
Yeah, we don't go drone.
You need to sit up there and
members in Mexico. They're more of an active threat.
Once again, if you sit up there and can show us where the government is actually showing them and training them and everything, and I'm not saying that they're not corrupt, just like I'm not saying that the government in Pakistan is not corrupt, but the government in Pakistan is far more than just corrupt. They're actually aiding and abetting these situations. All right, and you don't see that to that degree the way you see it in Mexico. And will we have problems in Mexico? Yeah, we're going to have problems in Mexico. Now, if you want to see what's going to happen in Mexico, just stick around, because this migrant thing is going to blow up.
Oh, there we go. Why not drone the migrants? There you go. Problem solved.
Are the migrants bombing U.S. cities?
I don't know, but they have guns. And they're trying to tear down the fence,
and if they shoot
federal property, and they're trying to cross the border illegally.
And if they shoot, we should open fire.
So why do they get the benefit of looking them in the eye while you kill them, while the people in Yemen, the fucking wedding ceremony,
I don't know.
You don't even give them the proper benefit of looking them in the eye. You drone them from the United States, and you're just sitting there on a freaking video game, pretty much.
Okay.
Hell, I saw this one drone pilot.
So why should I risk my people's lives? All right. Why should I risk my people's lives? All right, for other people, just so I can quote unquote look them in the eye. Were they looking at people in the eye? Tell me, did Osama bin Laden look Americans in the eye? Hold on a second. Did Osama bin Laden look people in the eye when he sit up there and sent off a bunch of freaking kids to sit up there and bring down the Twin Towers?
Are we as bad as Osama bin Laden?
No, these people are. The people in Yemen sure as hell are.
We are supposed to be better than them.
We are better than them. This does not
when we're droning their
because we're not sitting up there. The difference is, Mad Dodge, is they will exterminate everybody. The drones are an attempt at a very small targeted strike. Would you rather we go in with B-52s and level the entire grid? Is that what you want?
I'd rather we declared war before we just willy-nilly start.
We did declare war. Once again, Mad Dodge, the fact that you don't like it,
Hang on. We've got a bit of talking over each other. Can we try and just have one person talking at a time, please? I know you're getting very excited there, MC, and I'm glad you are. And by the way, you're winning by a considerable margin. You continue.
You don't like the fact of how we declared war, but we declared war. Deal with it. Stop coming back and whining. I don't like the way we declared war.
Like the way you declared war? No, that's like declaring war on freaking emus. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. You don't declare war on an ideology. You declare war on a country.
You know what? Whether you like it or not, the Supreme Court has said that this is a declaration of war. You cannot
fucking like Supreme Court again, dude.
You cannot like it all you want. Or you can accept the fact that this is the situation and maybe change it later. But the situation is as it is now. To sit up there and whine about, well, we don't like the process, doesn't change the actions on the ground. It doesn't change materially what's going on in any way, shape, or form.
How can you win a war on an ideal? Drones aren't going to win that war. So tell me, how can you win the war on terrorism?
In that regard, I would agree with you. The idea of the selected strikes and everything else, they're probably not the best method to do this. We need to go in there just and just brutally freaking just start wiping them out from one end to the other.
And I think the separation of emotion from playing pretty much a video game, like I've seen some of these drone guys with an Xbox One controller in their hand, that is so separated from the reality of what you're actually doing. It is ridiculous and immoral.
It has nothing to do with it. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Push button war. Like, why do you think it's so easy? Oh, we're just going to nuke Moscow.
Why it's so easy. What made it easy was this idea and this concept pushed by that freaking logic that you can do targeted strikes and that these things will, once you decapitate these few little cells, that everything will be good because they don't want to face the reality. There's this constant thing, just like you keep whining. Oh, they're just civilians. There's just a few of them. No. Okay. That is not the problem. The problem is that people don't want to face the fact that it isn't just a terrorist cell here or a terrorist cell there. That's not the problem. The problem isn't the ideology. The problem is the cultural aspect of that entire region. And you've got to play on their terms. They have to come to an understanding, not you. They have to come to an understanding of what they're actually facing. And until you make them face that reality, nothing's going to change. So from that aspect, I do agree with you. But if you don't want there to be freaking mass bombings, if you don't want us to take B-52s out of the hangars and out of mothball fleets to where we can really deal with the situation that's going to happen at some point, sooner or later, whether people want to admit this or not, sooner or later, the only way you're going to fix this is by telling these people, look, we've had enough. You're now going to face extermination until you admit you were wrong and you admit you surrender, or we're just going to find out, okay, there won't be any more left of you.
Let's talk a little bit here for a minute about actual numbers. This is coming from lawfareblog.com. Civilian casualties and collateral damage.
Once again, civilian casualties are a bunch of bullshit because the people that are running around are a bunch of people who are not in uniform. So to sit up there and call them civilians, even the people you are targeting aren't considered civilians. So the idea that, oh, it's a civilian casualty is nonsense. Like they were just innocent people walking around with their lives. And the reality is they're not innocent civilians. They're the support element for these people.
All right. Anyway, as of July 22nd, 2013, LWJ claims 2,526 leaders and operatives from the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and allied extremist groups have been killed via drone strikes. 153 civilians have been killed in Pakistan since 2006.
And what were those civilians?
This yields a civilian death rate of nearly 6%.
No. Tell me what those civilians were doing. Tell me who those civilians were. Were they associates of the Taliban? Were they associates of Al-Qaeda? How come we don't know this? Or was he just the baker down the street? Before you start talking to me about and claiming that was 150 civilians, or however many civilians there were, then you better start telling me who these civilians are and what they were doing.
Where I got that information from does not say what they were doing, but I would assume, especially with the wedding.
What a surprise that these
especially
people didn't bother to sit up there and tell you who these other people were.
Okay, but especially with the wedding, it's not only the guests and the bride and groom being married. There's caterers, there's people to perform the ceremony, there's wherever space they were at. There's all sorts of other people there that would be considered civilians, not connected with whoever they were targeting.
Possibly, but you can't tell
me. Possibly?
Yes, possibly. You don't know. You don't know whether or not the baker or the caterer has any kind of logistical chain as part of them. What was that?
Sorry, you said baker. I was going with candlestick maker.
Oh, okay.
We'll get all from there.
The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
I'm actually getting some complaints in the chat about apparently you're steamrolling Mad Dodge MC. Not that I have personally a problem with that because you're winning anyway. But the there is a sort of a burdening thought in my mind that I could put you, MC, and I will put a counter argument to Mad Dodge in a moment. But do you see civilian casualties as just collateral in a drone strike, MC?
In the kind of situation that you're dealing with right now, yes.
Yes. So you don't really,
and that's at worst. Okay.
Okay.
And understand this: when you're doing these kind of strikes, and don't get me wrong. I mean, first of all, the wedding that they constantly talk about, okay, wasn't targeted because it was a wedding. It was a target strike at a group of people, and they made a mistake, and that's what happens in wars. Okay, there are mistakes that happen. Okay, not making excuses for it. I'm just telling you what the reality of war is, because warfare is a horrible thing. And we're trying to make it as clean as possible. We're trying to make it as nuanced as possible, rather than what we should be doing, all right, which is going full on. But no, overall, at worst, these people are unwilling human shields.
Okay. Okay, no, that's fine. That's a reasonable answer without too much triggering. Now, Mad Dodge, to you would be the opposite of that, which is, if you're not happy with the drone strikes, are you much happier with the idea of troops on the ground potentially putting US soldiers at risk unnecessarily to attack an enemy, unlike where MC is saying a drone attack removes that risk effectively?
My point of view on this is pretty simple. You declare war on the country, you move in with ground troops and even B-52s, like MC keeps saying, carpet bomb the place. But you declare war on the country that you are targeting, that you are violating the airspace of. And also, I believe that the civilian casualties that MC says aren't civilians is creating blowback. It is creating more terrorists than it is killing, and at a faster rate. You are turning these people against us. Even better. We are Al-Qaeda's best recruiting tool.
You are full of crap. We were Al-Qaeda's freaking best recruiting tool, all right, when they sit up there and play Hollywood and say, look how decadent they are. Okay, the idea that they're attacking us as blowback is absolute horse shit. It is horse shit. You and many of these other people who came up with this idea have this philosophy that they think like we do, that culturally they're just human beings, and and all human beings generally think alike. And it's not an accurate assessment. I don't know where that philosophy comes from, and I don't really care. But if you travel around the world, if you sit up there and spend any significant time, for example, in Asia, all right, or if you spend significant time in Africa, or even in Latin America, you'll start to see what the differences are. And then if you go to the Middle East, you'll notice even the further difference. They don't have the same view of life that we do. They don't assess reality the same way we do. They don't look at it as if, okay, you know, there's evil people doing it to me, so therefore I'm going to get revenge that way. That's not how they think. That is not. It isn't even a part of how their makeup is. The idea that somehow they're going to do it from a vengeance standpoint at that point, while they may be mad and vengeful and stuff like that, because vengeance is a natural human trait, that's not why they're getting recruits. That's not what they're getting recruits from. They're getting recruits because they come back and they tell all the leaders, see, the Americans won't protect you. See, the Americans are cowards. See, the Americans won't really do anything to you. Oh, they may kill a few of us here and there, but overall, the Americans aren't serious. That's how they get things. I mean, and I'll go into it. This is a true story. Over in Iraq, all right? And I think I've told this story online before, but I'm not sure. There was a fire base that we had, all right, in one of the cities, and it kept getting sniper fire and kept getting sniper fire, and they finally took that commander and got rid of him and put a new commander in there. And after the sniper fire the next day, the commander said, grabbed his freaking Iraqi interpreter and said, go out here. We're going to go out to the front gate with that bullhorn. And he said, the next time we receive sniper fire from any one of these buildings here, we're gonna detonate freaking dynamite and bring all these buildings and lay them flat and pancake them. And I'm not going to sit there and ask for any excuses. Now, this had been going on for months. The next day, delivered at their front gate, were 3 bloodied and beaten snipers. Okay, so in other words, the firing that was happening to the Americans, they were perfectly willing to let it go on. They were like, they're not bothering me. It's not my fight. When it became their issue was the only time that something came up, that they decided to take action. You're not dealing with people that think like we do.
Thank you, MC. That's very well done. Mad Lord, you can have at least 15 minutes now.
Well, no, okay, MC. Right. Cultures are different. I grant you that. Does that still mean the United States should bend on our laurels and just be as bad as they are?
We're not as bad as they are. Another freaking false analogy. How are we as bad as they? Are we blowing up freaking buildings? Are we going after schools and saying, you know what? We're wiping out in schools just for the hell of it?
Are we blowing up buildings? Yes.
No,
yes, we are blowing
not
up
just
buildings.
buildings that are in a residential district for the hell of it. We're not targeting civilian. We're not targeting non-combatants. We're targeting and we're going after the people who are the problem. We still are doing that. To sit up there and say that we are acting just like them is another false analogy.
I agreed.
Oh, hello, Mo.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
you were supposed to have more time, and I broke.
Well, sorry, memes is in here as well. I didn't notice. Welcome to Unholy Mole, and
I'm going to mute myself for a while.
I've been listening a little bit.
Okay. Well, please enlighten us to your opinion on this, Mole.
Well, I haven't heard enough to really have an opinion yet. I literally just listened to just a few minutes of MC talking about the combatants and stuff.
Okay, you're still on the fence, are you, at the moment?
Well, I think that America should be proactive. I think that the things we're doing for a reason. We have to be proactive. The Middle East, you say that we're not targeting civilians. You got to understand, we don't know who the enemy is over there. I mean, there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim. There is no such thing.
Wait, what? First off, there is. Second,
no, there is.
You better know.
Let him finish.
Let
him finish.
I better what?
You better know who you're killing before you pull the fucking trigger.
Do they care who they're killing?
That sounds like. Oh, whatever. I'll let that one stand on its own. I totally disagree with that.
I'm just saying that there are casualties that are, there is collateral damage when we're at war, dude. That happens.
We are not at war with Yemen. We're not at war with Pakistan.
We're at war wherever this invisible war on terrorism. What did you call it?
This invisible war on terrorism, this big boogeyman that has to feed the military industrial complex. It's ridiculous.
It's not a
you don't go to war with an idea. It is? When was the last time they bombed something in the United States?
Why does it have to be the United States?
Because if it's in France, it's not my problem.
There are allies. Do you understand how allies work?
They can handle it themselves. Loan them a drone then.
You're talking about France? Obviously, France cannot handle anything themselves.
That's their problem.
Have you seen their record?
Maybe they should go kiss Merkel's ring. I don't give a fuck.
I'm just saying we need to be proactive. I don't think we should bomb civilians. I agree with you there. But there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim.
Yes, there is. That's like saying there's no such thing as a freaking
I don't believe there is.
Catholic. That's ridiculous. There's different types of Catholicism. There's Jesuits. There's different.
There is different types of Catholicism, but Islam, they all believe in jihad. I don't care if they're a moderate or a fucking extremist. They all believe in jihad. I'm telling you, they are fucking on the extremist side. They might not agree. They might not say they are, but they are definitely with them because they're fighting a holy war. To them, it's a holy war.
Are you sure?
What do you mean, am I sure?
All is a very encompassing statement, Mr. Mole.
Okay, yeah, you're true. Okay, maybe not all, but a majority, a large majority.
No. The reason I say this because I'm starting to believe more and more that all of humanity falls along a very broad spectrum here, and it's just like, yes, Batman, thank you, welcome. But just when you're looking at what's going on in the world and stuff, yes, people do terrible things. There are many responses. This has been happening for basically the existence of all of humanity here. It's just when a Hellfire missile goes into a wedding or a funeral, it's like, yeah, we might have information that there's a person that's done terrible things there, but should their friends and family suffer because they have done terrible things?
Are their friends and family providing them logistical support? Then I have zero problem with it.
How do you know
how many degrees of separation are required before somebody's life should be forfeit?
And how do you know that
if you're not targeting them?
Hang on. Sorry, MC. Batman, welcome.
How do you know that?
You have something to say?
Yeah. First of all, how do you know that their friends and family are providing logistical support and on the supporting side for the drone strike thing in general? A drone strike is going to cause, especially if it's on target, it's going to cause a hell of a lot less casualties than sending a strike team in. A strike team is going to be noticed. It's going to bring more people out of the woodwork who would probably not be interested in fighting anyway, because these are invading soldiers.
I have a question. Okay. MC, I'll throw this question at you. If drone strikes are so effective, why didn't they drone strike Osama bin Laden's compound? Why did they send in a SEAL team?
Because he was hidden in caves.
That's not why. The reason they did it was because they wanted to have his body so they could do DNA validation.
Oh, yeah. They wanted proof otherwise.
Yeah. They needed to see him be killed as well. Why
didn't they provide the proof to the public?
I believe they did.
I agree it sucks that we have to be over there, Mad, but if there's no one policing them, then they're going to run wild.
It's not our job. It's not our job to police them.
It obviously is. Because no one else.
I'm still shocked by your comment.
Our job
that
on 9/11.
We don't need to know who we're targeting.
One at a time, please.
Yeah, I am still shocked that comment came from you, Mole, and not MC. That we don't even need to know who the fuck we're targeting before we kill them.
We do know who we're targeting. That's a lie. To say that we don't know who we're targeting.
I said, hey, wait a minute, MC. Calm your tits. What Mole said is we don't need to know. In other words, if we just suspect it, it's okay. Do the bombing is pretty much what Mole said, right?
I never said that. That didn't come out of my mouth.
Yeah, it did. You said we don't need to know who we're bombing before we bomb.
I did not say that.
No, don't.
You did.
Listen back
to I think what he was saying is he was referring to potential drone strikes to minimize any further full incursion losses there, and if folks happen to perish as a result and they didn't do anything, it seemed like he saw that as a lesser of two evils.
Yes.
What if Russia started conducting drone strikes within the United States borders?
Well, then we would go and attack them.
Whoa. Hang on. Wait.
Sorry,
that's another false analogy. Once again, you're saying Russia thinks like we do. Yes, it is. You're using an analogy that they think like we do.
Have territorial borders.
Hang on. Stop. Quiet down, children. Let's have a bit of order. Hang on, MC. Hang on. I'll let you rant in a sec. Believe me, and I want to hear it. Hello, Doku. Welcome. Would you like to let us know your position before we continue?
Okay, there's really only two major things I want to point out here. The first off, when you have combatants, and yes, they are combatants, no matter what way you look at it, when you have combatants that are running around in civilian clothing using weaponry that they either got through, let's be honest, the Middle East weapons are floating around all over the place since the 60s, 70s. You're putting rocket batteries, mortars, whatever, near civilian targets for the sake of, again, using them as involuntary human shields at schools, hospitals, things like that. You are going to end up with collateral damage. You're going to end up with unintended casualties. Or even we can look at Vietnam as an example where women would be used as combatants because you want to look out. We can't shoot the women and children. Yet child soldiers in Africa have been a thing for a long time.
Doku in Vietnam, that was also one of the first places where a small child would go to some American soldiers, really cute and all that, and then all of a sudden they'd see that a small child has got a hand grenade that he's just pulled the pin out of.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to be considered in this conversation. The other one is a lot of these groups that we're fighting, it's not necessarily like you're talking about Yemen. It's not the government of Yemen that we're at war with. It's not their sovereign nation. These are groups that operate outside of international boundaries. They don't adhere to any kind of conventions or traditional aspect of warfare. They are international organizations that are engaged in terrorism. It's not a traditional war in the sense of, say, World War I or World War II. It's guerrilla warfare, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And they travel from country to country to try to hide from us. So how do we know who the combatants are? They all dress the same. They all look like civilians. They don't have uniforms.
Well, and let's turn the table real quick.
Not only do they look like civilians. Hold on a second.
MC, if you don't mind. Okay, go ahead.
Not only do they look like the civilians, not only do they do this, they're going across these borders at will. When you talk about how we're violating their borders, it's funny that they don't see it as a violation of their borders, where these combatants go back and forth across the borders in any way, shape, or form. You want to talk about how they look at it? They don't look at it the same way. They don't look at borders the same way you do. So to sit up there and try and compare it, a conflict like that could erupt between the United States and Russia, for example, it's not the same thing. You're not comparing apples to apples. You're comparing apples to oranges. Just because you want to sit up there and have it a specific way, but the real world doesn't function that way.
Oh, can I add something? Al-Qaeda and ISIS, to them, if you're not a Muslim, you're the enemy.
Exactly.
Well, and also just to add some historical context, we're talking about modern warfare, but let's go back and look at the Revolutionary War. One of the reasons the Revolutionary Army was so successful is because we didn't adhere to the standard, colonial era idea of European warfare, where we all line up on a battlefield wearing blue or red coats and shoot at each other. We utilize guerrilla warfare, and it's extremely effective and extremely difficult to combat when you start using traditional methods of engagement.
You can't fight guerrilla warfare with conventional warfare. You just can't do it. You have to fight guerrilla warfare yourself. You
fight guerrilla warfare with daisy cutter bombs.
Yeah, it's an interest. I just wanted to bring it up as to put it into kind of a context at how conventional warfare versus unconventional warfare. Usually, the unconventional method is the one that it succeeds, just like the Viet Cong.
We had no chance,
And the thing is, they're not nearly as well equipped, not nearly as well trained. I mean, at least they have the advantage of it is in their essentially their own backyard. Yeah. So they have the home field advantage. But just the fact that they go against convention, which is why you end up with such collateral damage when you're trying to fight an unconventional militant force, because you don't know who the combatant is. They're not wearing uniforms. They don't have badges. And to be blunt, they really don't care if cities, civilians, women, children get killed. They're fighting for an ideological reason. Whatever that reason might be changes. But when you're adhering to the rules of engagement, treaties, whatever, it's very difficult to fight an enemy like that. It's not an easy thing to do.
Okay.
Mad Dodge, you can respond now.
Yeah, okay. First off, you want a perpetual war? Because this war on the boogeyman that we call the war on terrorism is a perpetual war. It will not end anytime soon.
Why do you keep calling it a boogeyman?
Can I talk, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Why do I call it a boogeyman? Because look at the Patriot Act. Look at everything it's fucking brought to the United States. How many of our rights are being trampled? That's why. And because it's a perpetual war that will never fucking end, that will drain the treasury of the United States, and it will kill us. It will be our end. That's why.
The introduction of the American Gestapo, otherwise known as Homeland Security.
Exactly.
Why
this is the end of the Republic. The Republic dies. The Republic dies. We have a fucking war forever.
Look and at why are we engaging in it this way?
Yeah, they attacked us on 9/11.
No.
Why are we war on Afghanistan? We knocked them out.
I'm not asking that question. I'm not asking why we're at war with them. I'm asking a different question. Why are we engaging in this method?
Right. MC, you're doing pretty much the same thing that that we did during the Troubles in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong, mind you.
Okay, let's talk about what the problem is and what we're actually fighting. We're fighting a 12th century cultural mentality that has modern weaponry. That's what the war is. Now, I will perfectly agree with you when you come back and say, well, we're trying to say it's a war on terror because we're trying to minimize the overall impact of it. But that's what we're at war with. So you've got to convince a 12th century mentality to change. You've got to change that culture. You've got to force that culture to change because we don't have any other choice, because it's either they change or we change. They're either going to force us to change or we're going to force them to change. Those are the stakes. There's no middle ground. There's no other way to look at this. So now the question is, how do societies change? How do cultures change? They change with pressure. In this case, it's going to be outside pressure that's going to force them to change, because we've already given them the chance for inside pressure to change, and they didn't. And they're not going to. So now you're going to have to hold on. I'm not finished. So now we're going to apply outside pressure. Now there's two ways to apply it. You can either apply it for minimal amount of pressure for long periods of time, or you can bring in a whole hell of a lot of pressure all at once. Now I would prefer that we do the whole lot of pressure all at once. Why? Because it'll be fewer American deaths and fewer deaths for them in the long run. That's my belief, and that's how I feel about it. However, that's not what you and the American people decided. There's too many people walking around going, no, we don't want to bring in the B-52s. Oh, that would be so horrible to bring in the B-52s. Oh, look at this. Look at the indiscriminate killing. So you basically, our society has tied our hands and has said, okay, we have to change them with pressure, but we don't want a lot of pressure over a short period of time. We want you to do it with the absolute minimum force.
Okay, real quick. First off, you're right. The United States is fighting with one hand tied behind its back. Carl earlier in the chat brought up a good point, which I think really works right here, because I believe we don't only have one arm tied behind our back, but we're also shooting ourselves in the left foot. Carl DeGraw says, at MC and at Mad Dodge, we are killing Taliban in Afghanistan and arming them in Syria. I think it is either we don't know who we are killing, or we do know and don't care. We are funding them in one country and killing them in another.
Gee, I wonder why that is. It couldn't possibly
war. Ridiculous.
It couldn't possibly be due to.
Hang on, MC. Sorry, MC. Before you answer that, I want to give somebody else a quick chance. Would either Memes or Mole want to respond to this, please?
What my opinion on it is, if we're not preemptive, if we were to just leave them to their own devices, that would give them chances. They would give them a chance to get stronger. Do you think if we weren't taking preemptive course, that they wouldn't be attacking America? That's the only reason they're not attacking America.
Okay, Memes.
I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim. They want all Westerners dead, every one of them. They do not like us. You can disagree if you'd like, but it's a cultural thing. They do not like us. None of them do.
The Muslims that came over in the 60s and the 70s in the UK, they integrated into British culture, unlike the recent ones. They still class themselves as Muslims, but most of them drink, gamble. They act like Westerners.
Yeah, they do. You're right. Okay, let me rephrase that. Middle Eastern Arabs, then, the ones that have acclimated to the society they're in, maybe. But the Middle Eastern, the ones that live in the Middle East, they're like 8 centuries behind us. They all want us dead. They want the whole world to be Islam. They don't want no Westerners.
I would have to disagree with that on the fact that if my life had gone a little bit differently, I may have married a beautiful Syrian rose. But
I'm not saying there's a few good
ones. No. I hear you, Mo. I don't know. Maybe I'm virtue signaling. I don't know. But
hang on, let me just throw a question in there myself. Memes, how many X's?
No comment. But
if I can interject real quick, if you don't mind.
Go on.
No, go on, Memes. Finish what you're going to say.
Okay. Just to harken back to a point we brought back earlier. I forget who brought it up, but they said, well, we hadn't seen the actual any potential death photos of Osama bin Laden. And I believe at the time, maybe I'm wrong, but the general consensus was there was a headshot to him, and it was horrific. And potentially releasing those photos could stir folks up. Some may say the mimetic of the effect of basically seeing the individual shot and completely destroying the head may be a meme of destruction, if you would. Mm-hmm. At that same time, with not releasing that, imagine if you happen to live in the Mideast, you put on the TV, and then all of a sudden you see your family's cousin's wedding you couldn't make it to,
false analogy,
and there's fire and just charred bone and stuff. I'm just saying how it's mimetically taken. For them, that's a mimetic of destruction right there. Who do they associate with? They associate with the United States, and pain will just beget pain, hatred will breed hate, and violence will spawn violence.
You're comparing apples to oranges. You think they think like we do. That is your analysis.
MC, real quick.
I think pain is a commonality between all humanity.
Doku, you'll go. Sorry, MC. We'll get you next.
Okay, I'm gonna be quick on this one. I really do think that the greater issue here is more of a cultural issue rather than a religious one. Now, the specific religion in question enables the culture to act in the way that it does, but it really is more of a cultural issue rather than a religious ideology. I fundamentally believe that. These people come from a society where violence is not just acceptable, but it is commonplace.
Yeah. Doku,
I agree with you, Doku.
With Islam, you cannot separate religion from culture. They're the same thing. It's also law. Islam encompasses every aspect of their life.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I'm against, why I don't like the idea of Sharia law, and why I made the comment in the chat earlier that if you want to talk about Islam, you can't separate religion from culture because their culture is dictated by a religious belief. Exactly. And that's just the way it is over there. So again, the religion enables the culture, and again, violence is commonplace.
Matt, you know I'm normally a pacifist, and you know I know a lot about religion. I just know how the Muslim mind works. Like he said, you can't separate culture and religion over there. They all think that we're subhuman. They want us all dead. Period.
Yep. Why?
Cut and try.
They prefer to convert us.
Right. MC, sorry, Batman. MC, you can come in now.
Okay, I'm here. I'll be quiet.
No, please speak your mind. It's your turn, sir.
Look, I think Mad Dodge was actually trying to say something, and then he actually got shut out, and unfortunately there's a bunch of people on my side, and then Memes isn't helping Mad Dodge enough.
Memes is being memes, and that's good enough for me. No. Oh well, Mad Dodge, do you have something to add there?
Now, young lady.
Well, yes, the religion is intertwined with their political system, their laws, and everything else. That's true, but the fact that you say that there is no moderate Muslims, they don't exist. There's kind of a divide within the Muslim world right now where they want the terrorists to fucking stop. They're sick of, their family members dying and shit. There is a divide going on.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Would you like to show me?
Have you ever even sat down and watched Al Jazeera ever?
Oh, have I watched Al Jazeera? Oh yeah, I have watched Al Jazeera. And what's more is, Mad Dodge, you make a claim. Let's see it. Show me where they're putting the terrorists out. Show me where they're arresting the terrorists and throwing them in jail. Show it to me. Show me in Pakistan where the great Pakistanis are now rioting because a woman was let out for being a Christian and she wasn't stoned to death.
I'm not a big fan of Pakistan. I think India should handle that, but whatever.
India can't handle it because it's Pakistan.
Yeah, it's a different country.
Before we continue,
India and Pakistan hate each other. India has nukes. They could.
Yeah, hang on, everybody.
He was inferring nuclear warfare.
We have had a question from the chat, and I have to make it look like I'm actually doing my job properly. Question to Mad Dodge, but I'm throwing it out to everybody. Does it matter if you are killed by a person or drone? If you're in a conflict of war, does it matter?
No.
What if you're not in the conflict? What if you're walking down the street and the guy in the car happens to drive past you?
I prefer Batman's answer. It's just straight and to the point. Thank you.
You are
to the individual. Oh, go ahead, MC.
You are in the conflict, whether you like it or not. You are in the conflict. I know a lot of Americans don't believe that they're in the conflict, but they're in the conflict too. When you see a jihadi sit there and drive a truck of peace, all right, through New York City, all right, all those New Yorkers didn't realize, but they're part of that conflict. They're in the conflict.
Well, the United States is still in that active war.
But they don't see themselves as at war. They don't think that they're at war. There's a lot of Americans that deny the fact that we're at war. That's part of the problem. They also deny the fact that what they're dealing with is a cultural problem that's not going to go away just because you wish it away.
Well,
if you want it to go away, it's not going to happen.
MC,
can I bring up
there are hold on. There are sorry if that sounded rude. There are
no problem.
Middle Eastern imams who have actually stated that the war that Islam waged on Christendom never ended. It just went into a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mo.
Okay, what I was going to say is that there are many types of jihad, and if you don't think that there may not have been bombings here, but like that K2 shit that's proliferating America. Well, not too long ago there was a huge bust in Texas, and 16 people got arrested, and every one of them was a Muslim. Do you think that might be another way for them to be jihading by killing our youth with K2?
I think that may have been in California. Actually, I may be incorrect there, but I actually wanted to jump on that.
It might have been California, but do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot way more. There are more ways to jihad than just to blow someone up.
Well, no, I mean, people have been hateful for many years now. I want to jump on the question about does it matter if you get killed by a person or by a drone? And for that individual, I mean, they've lost their life. So, I mean, to that individual, it may not matter. But the actual mimetic taken away, okay, we've known people kill people. That's been happening for thousands of years now. Right. To have a person killed by a person, that's terrible. When a person is killed by a remotely operated vehicle from the sky, the mimetic, I mean, we're wielding the power of God at this point right now. The ability to literally just hit a few buttons and to snuff out another human being. I mean, I do think that's taken in a different way.
I do agree that it's a dirty way to fight. I'll agree with you there. I don't like violence. I'm a pacifist, but I'm telling you, I do not believe there might be moderate Muslims in America or in Western countries, but in the Middle East, I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim.
Wasn't in the second Iraq War, wasn't there people that helped the soldiers and stuff and were actually friendly? Like, didn't we train an Iraqi army?
But that had nothing to do with terrorism, though.
Actually,
Didn't we also train a bunch of people that threw freaking grenades in the barracks where people were sleeping?
I've got Kim over here. You kind of wanted to say something, if you don't mind.
Around Doku?
Yeah, it's Kim.
Sorry, guys. I don't mean to interrupt the stream, but to be honest, I've met tons of different Muslim people. I've met the ones that are extremists that absolutely hate white people. I went to school and had a coach that hated me just for that. But I've also met ones that actually do stand by the original version of Muslim religion.
More so interpretation.
Exactly. Where they still abide by the golden rule, where you do try to take into account what other people think.
And just to say something, you can find extremes in any ideology, but
yes, you can.
Where you may be and I mean, when I'm talking extremes, I'm not just saying you're an extremist and you want to kill everybody who doesn't believe what you believe, but you can have someone who's willing to light themselves on fire for the sake of making a point. You can find extremes no matter where you look, and you'll find them on both ends of the spectrum. So
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I wasn't going to say it, but you did, so thank you very much. My point is, you can always find extremes. Some are beneficial, maybe. Some are not. Usually extremes are not beneficial, no matter what way you cut it. There are always exceptions. But again, I stand by my point that there is a specific interpretation of any text, whether it's religious or not, and how it impacts society, whether it completely condones or completely condemns violence. And when you hit 49 to 51%, guess what? One or the other takes hold. And we can even see that in our political landscape today. Hey, do you have a MAGA hat on? Perfectly okay to go out and punch people or hit them over the head with bike locks. It's not just a religiously exclusive thing, but it is a cultural and ideological phenomena that should really be addressed and not encouraged. Extremism never ends in something good.
I've always said that extremist ideologies are inherently bad for any given society, or even civilization for that matter.
This is slightly off topic, but I have a question for you pro-drone people. Where do you draw the line? Is the line drawn within the United States, or can the government drone its own citizens?
Interesting question. Perhaps, well, I don't know. I'm not really sure how to answer that one, actually. That is a very, very, very interesting question. I personally don't support droning your own citizens. It seems not like a good idea, but then again, we've had a civil war, we've had a revolutionary war, we've had domestic terrorism, we've had the National Guard shoot protesters during the 60s and 70s. So,
but should the government have the right to take the life of its own citizenry without due process?
I think the government has the right to maintain order.
Yeah.
To what extreme that goes to, I think lethal force might be a bit of a stretch, unless it threatens literally the foundation of the country and the lives of everyone. You can't let a small extremist contingent of radicals, even if they're domestic terrorists, completely run around and terrorize the rest of the country.
What about innocent until proven guilty?
I'm perfectly fine with innocent until proven guilty, but honestly, if you're running around with guns, or you're in open protest, you're trying to shoot cops, or you're trying to shoot military personnel, or you're threatening to set off bombs.
What do you mean by open protest?
What I'm saying is like violent uprising.
Okay, what about the Bundy Ranch situation with the militia, guns out, ready to go? Drone them? Yay or nay?
No, not on that one. On that particular situation, no. Because that is...
Damn it, Doku. I thought I was walking you into a corner, damn it.
No. MD, here's the thing. Let's walk him into a different corner. The only issue you may potentially have, Doku, with that is if you're saying that these folks are radicals and they're potentially causing an uprising and potentially violence, and that's an issue, I mean, isn't that kind of the same argument for deplatforming individuals?
Okay, here's the difference. That was their private property. The government was trying to unlawfully seize it from them, and when they did not comply and chose to use their Second Amendment rights to defend their right to private property, the government basically said, "Okay, yeah, we're just going to kill you." No, that's not what is God damn it? Why am I blanking on? Not constitutional. That's not the term I'm looking for. That's not eminent domain. They own that property. They're, you know what? If they want to pull a frickin' let's go Haley's Comet and drink the Kool-Aid, if they want to do that, by all means, go ahead. Stupid as hell, but by all means, go ahead. The government has no right to that. Now, when it comes to
real quick, Doku. Sorry to cut you off, but real quick. It wasn't just the Bundy boys and the dad, though. They had militias from other states come and back them up. Couldn't that be seen as domestic terrorism?
No, because they're not going against the government. They're not infringing upon the rights of others. They're defending their own constitutional rights. That is perfectly constitutional. The government overstepped their bounds in that one.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and it was proven in court, actually, that the government overstepped. The Bundys were cleared of all charges. Even in the Oregon refuge.
It was, come on, it wasn't proven. It's just that the courts decided that they were correct. Don't use the word proven to be right.
Okay, fair enough. And MC, I wanted to hear, okay, go ahead, Mo. I want to hear MC's thoughts on domestic droning.
I wanted to take back what I said about all Muslims are. All right, I was looking it up. I found there's three types of Muslims. There's the extremists, which you know, they'll use violence until either everybody's subjugated by Islam, or they become Muslim. Then the second group, they're not necessarily violent, but they also don't say anything to the violent ones to try to stop it. So 1/3 of Muslims are the type we're talking about that may be moderate, but the other 2/3 would like to see us dead. That is not very good odds. You know,
well, that's also probably a bit of an inference. And again, no, I get the generalization of what you're saying, and dude, thank you, Mole and MC, for clarifying, because even though it is current year 2018, words should matter.
They should. They very much should.
Well, MC, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on domestic droning, and then Magic, look in the chat. Carl has some hard-hitting questions in there, dude.
Why? Okay, for what purpose would you want to drone somebody in the U.S.? Under what conditions? All right.
What, domestic terrorism. Let's just stick with the terrorist.
Okay, domestic. You have a domestic terrorist, all right? Where is he at?
We'll stick with Eastern Oregon. It's a nice empty area. You can set up a camp out there and train.
What's to prevent the local law enforcement from handling it?
Okay, so no, you would not support drone striking terrorists on American soil.
In this case, no. But I'm also leaving it up to the option. Let's say that Oregon, you've convinced Oregon, all right, to be the great, grand, and savior, and the South will rise again, and they have now declared themselves a sovereign state, and they don't need to listen to listen to America.
All right, I'm going to duck out. I'm going to hit the hay. Have a good night, guys.
Right, later. Yeah, later, Batman.
Good night, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks, MC. Oregon votes for secession. All right, I'm with you.
Right. In which case, the local authorities have no intention of actually reining this in or doing anything to quote unquote police the situation. In that case, I don't see a problem with droning. And technically, they would still be. I would still consider them necessarily American citizens in rebellion.
Yeah, rebellion. You love to use that word. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this question then to the panel since Mad Dodge brought it up. It's from Carl, and he's saying, "So if an American verbally supports Al Qaeda and never picks up a weapon, is everyone okay with killing him, his friends, and his kids with a drone and no trial?"
I would say no.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would say no, but I would consider that treason.
Okay.
I would consider that individual to be a threat and perhaps mentally unstable, but Matt, you'll probably agree with me on this one. As a free speech absolutist, you have the right to say what you want to say. Yeah, maybe the dude's just fucking trolling. Who knows? But it's definitely someone you want to keep an eye on, and it's not someone I would consider to be of sound mental health. But at the end of the day, you have the right to say it, and I think you're a fucking idiot for saying it, but freedom of speech.
Yeah, it is freedom of speech. You're right.
If you're encouraging people to attack the United States, guess what? You get arrested. Now
if it's a direct call to action.
Hang on, let him finish.
Now, if you're talking about this person, am I okay with it? Is he on American soil? Then no. We have other methodologies that we can handle. Has he traveled to Pakistan and is making a freaking YouTube video? I have no problem if he gets taken up by a drone.
I want to
kind of with MC.
Well, okay, if he's in Pakistan, is what you're saying, MC?
Yep.
Okay, MC, I've got a question for you on this one. Now, I can understand the UAV, wanting to use drones, anything UAV, because pilots are expensive to train and you don't want to really be losing them. Much cheaper to have kids with PS2s because you don't have to train them for, they don't have to get up to speed on, they don't have to go through the same kind of regime.
We've been trying to train freaking Mad Dodge for freaking ever on that freaking PS4 his.
Grand Theft Auto Drone Strike Edition.
But one of the concerns that I would have with regards to UAVs is that there'll be a tendency to go more and more into UAVs. So like the F-35, they claim it's going to be the last manned aircraft. Now, when you lose a skill set like that, and not only that, the vehicles are not designed to be manned, then you've got a real problem. If, say, somebody found a zero-day hack, for the F-40 or whatever the hell it was called, the next generation. Now, you can't just suddenly get a bunch of people to jump into planes and fly because they haven't gone through the G-force training, the maneuvering. They've sat in a container playing with a PS4. They've never experienced the actual effect of flight, and the impact it has on, the physical impact that it would have. So you would give yourself a real fucking problem if you become too dependent on this kind of technology.
Okay.
Don't you think it's a dangerous path? Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But don't you think the path is that it's going to go down the UAV and also autonomous machines actually making their own decisions with AI included and everything else?
I do think it's a dangerous path, but it's a path that the whether you like it or not, that the civilians are freaking forcing on us.
Well, sorry, we have a civilian-led military.
I thought I thought the main reason for it was number one, not wanting to kill people in battle. And I thought it was also because once you take the human out of the cockpit, you can the avionic, the maneuverability that you can have is way more because obviously you don't have to deal with the little
all that is true.
Inside.
You can do things with a UAV or an unmanned aerial vehicle, right? That you can't do with pilots. Obviously, the G forces you can turn and so forth are increased dramatically. All of that is true, but
I thought those were the justifications. Pushing for it.
But the people who are making the decisions to take the man out of the freaking thing, the people who are pushing that, are more the civilians than anything else. They're the ones who want the minimized warfare. They're the ones who want to make war, and they've got this idea that warfare can be antiseptic because they've been playing their PS2s and their PS4s for too freaking long.
Well, also,
fine,
Abby,
but
there's
why
something that needs to be pointed out. For all of the technology, AI, sensor systems, everything that you can have, nothing is ever going to replace the human element of things. And also, what happens if the power grid goes out, or what happens when electronic warfare advances? Let's say, okay, fly all the unmanned UAVs you want. I'll just hack your system.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I said about a 0 day. This is why I said a 0 day hack or something like that would mean that you wouldn't have a bunch of people who were physically capable of actually manning aircraft, even if you wanted to dig out the old aircraft that you had lying around.
Well, yeah, all you really need is an EMP, right?
You don't even need an EMP. You just need a backdoor Trojan that just, I mean, hell, you could throw the system, you could throw the, if let's say we go full on Terminator and Skynet becomes a thing and we have AI manned weapons, just throw the system into an infinite loop. Let's find a vulnerable code. Let's find a vulnerable string of code and just change a 1 to a 0. It'll crash the entire fucking thing.
Gavage, let's bust up the
turboprop. All he needs a simple logic bomb. Yeah, we'll go back to Spitfires, mate. But yeah, a logic bomb would do it. You know, I mean, if you get a 0 day attack on something like that, when you've got all your eggs in one basket, the amount of time it would take for them to decompile and work out what the hell you've done in terms of the hack.
Well, there's a reason post-World War II Soviet weaponry was so effective. It was
simple. Yeah,
it was
easy
simple.
to
it doesn't break.
Yeah.
You take an AK-47, bury the damn thing in mud, wait for a year, and then dig it back up. Pull the fucking pin back. Thing will still shoot. It works.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So it's not the fact of necessarily the morality of using the UAVs that I was sort of addressing there. It's more, a concern about the defensibility of your country should that technology get compromised in any way.
I mean,
right, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Doku. I'm just going to jump in here for a second. We've had another question from the chat I think is worth reading. It's Carl again. You are on fire tonight, my boy. Mad Dodge, can you please explain how rights work to MC, since he seems to worship at the feet of the executive branch, regardless of who the president is? I'm gonna give that over to you, Mad Dodge.
Don't throw me in the fire. You heard the question.
That's what the chat asked for. That's what the chat's gonna get.
All right. Yeah, MC, it does seem to me that you throw rights out the window fairly quickly. What's your stance on the suspension of habeas corpus? Good idea or what?
Can be.
See, like, what the hell, man?
You ask an open-ended question that just somehow there's never going to be a situation where suspension of habeas corpus, all right, should never be taken. That's not.
It shouldn't have been taken the last time it was taken. The last time habeas corpus was suspended, it was suspended illegally, and you know it, I know it, and all the historians know it. All right?
I hate to tell you this, but it all goes back to at the time frame that it was done. It was not considered illegal, all right, and you just don't like the fact that it was done, and you're judging a historical event from a morality that we live in a 20th century morality.
You don't like the fact that the Supreme Court ruled 2 years later that it was an illegal suspension of habeas corpus. It's in the law books, sir. It was illegal.
It was not 2 years later.
Whatever. Supreme Court.
Here's the more interesting
It was not 2 years later. It was decades later with an entire different Supreme Court.
So
What you had happen was a bunch of people coming back and going, you know what? Now that we've got distance, now that we've got time, now that we're not in the same situation in any way, shape, or form, we're going to overrule this. It's the same thing that happened. All right, when you talk about the imprisonment of the Japanese during World War II. During that time frame, yes, they had court battles. Guess what? The Supreme Court said, nope, it's fine. Then 30 years later, 40 years later, we're going to come back and go, oh, it was absolutely horrible. We're going to make a different decision. We're going to overrule that previous Supreme Court from the distance, all right, of time and say, you know what? We're going to apply our morality as we see it today. It's nonsense.
No, the thing is,
MC, I have a question. Mad Dodge, do you mind if I interject real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, MC, I have a question. I know where I stand on the issue, but I want to hear your opinion on this one. So, if somebody could be considered a combatant, regardless of whether they're civilian or part of a sovereign military, regardless of that, if you could be considered a combatant and you go on trial, should it be a military court or a civilian court? Because I'm in favor of a military court.
It should be a military court.
I agree.
Well, it is normally, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's
not normally.
Well, no, I mean, even if you commit a something off base, you know, in the civilian environment, and I tell you what, because I'd rather it was a civilian court, because the fucking military courts are a damn sight more severe.
Well, more of what I'm saying, if you commit an act of domestic terrorism, or like let's take the let's go for the lowest common denominator here. Let's say you're using a direct call to action to support a terrorist group. I don't care if they're Muslim, Christian, whatever. It could. I don't care if your fucking Scientology decides to go full on terrorist or something shit like that. Let's say, let's say you decide that I'm going to have a direct call to action and use my influence, and some people die over something. I say military court.
You could make a case for that, but the question would be whether or not the military has been called out to deal with it. Oh, we got to remember, you still got posse comitatus, and whether we agree with it or not, in many circumstances, it is the law of the land. So in the case of that you're referring to, all right, if the United States military has been called out, all right, if they suspended posse comitatus for whatever reason, and you are now considered a combatant in a combatant area, right? Then having a military court, as far as I'm concerned, is fine. In fact, it'll probably be streamlined.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if somebody is, say, for example, a terrorist, you know, if someone's trying to perform a terrorist act, even though they are technically a civilian, it is an act of war. Therefore, it should be treated as a war, you know, as a military issue.
Well, if you're trying them in a military court, are you not recognizing the fact that they're a military and therefore a sovereign state or what have you?
No, you're just recognizing that they are a direct threat to your sovereignty. What they are is irrelevant.
World War II, we frickin' had military tribunals for the German spies that landed on the.
And I seem to remember the scientists. They went in front of the Hague, didn't they?
Some of them may have.
Yeah,
some of them
it wasn't all military. Yeah, it wasn't all military.
Well, yeah, if you're a spy, you get hung, right? Pretty much, that's the rule. They know that going into
you
it.
You can get hung. Not all of the ones. Not all the German spies that were caught from the submarine were all hung or executed. But some of them
depends whether they're in uniform or not.
None of them were in uniform.
I was waiting for that.
You just get a quick change, you know what I mean? Jump into a phone box and quick change.
Wait, what are we, Superman?
Come out with your uniform. Yeah. So, not a spy, just doing my job.
I'm not keeping score, but Cabby getting points, so.
Start goose stepping down the street. I'm totally not a spy.
Wait, Cabby's John Cleave?
Yeah.
So since Cabby was a late comer to the stream, what's your actual opinion on the original topic with regards to drone strikes, Cab?
Well, I disagree with MC that there is no such thing as blowback. There is obviously going to be cause and effect, but I think at the end of the day, they are a necessary evil unless you want to have an awful lot of body bags coming back. And as long as it's justified, as long as you can actually justify the action. I mean, I'd rather, like in World War II, for example, I would rather that every plane that we sent up in the Battle of Britain had been a drone than a poor pilot. You know what I mean? That would have been much more sensible. So I don't, you know, in principle, I don't disagree with drones. I do think that they could be potentially abused, you know, because it can make it too easy to utilize. So you might get a bit more trigger happy. I think the constraints need to be there. But my bigger concern is more about the future and where it will take us. That's why I think people have got to take a cold hard look at, you know, the reality of the situation as opposed to the ideology of the situation.
Yeah, no, Cabby, that's why I digressed towards the end of the argument, really, because we kind of veered off now. But it brought up domestic drone strikes because it is a slippery slope. You get used to, you know, not putting anybody at risk and taking out your enemies as far as you're concerned via fucking video game, pretty much. I mean, seriously, these guys have Xbox controllers in their hands. This shit's ridiculous. And then, you know, why not use it? Why not give a drone to the SWAT team? Wouldn't that be much more effective, MC? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be better? You don't have to risk anybody.
Well, why not? I mean, a police force, you know, they could have them. Why, you know, just, well, you know, but then you go to sort of RoboCop, but it'd be Robo-Droid or something. Yeah,
no, and I think that is frightening to me to have a SWAT team have a drone with fucking munitions on it. That is fucking nightmare fuel. But
I mean, you could have smaller ones. Don't forget. I mean, the drones that you're talking about at the moment, they're big. I mean, they are big. They're, you know, they're as big as an aeroplane. I mean, you know, we normally think of drones as these little buzzy things, you know, like pretty insignificant. But you can do an awful lot with those. They're getting more and more efficient. So you can do a lot more with a smaller size. Well, it's what you can pack in. So, I mean, in terms of being useful for things like police forces and SWAT teams, I mean, they would actually be conveniently sized. You know, you wouldn't need a big, long airfield for them to take off.
Well, I'm curious.
Like you do with the military.
So you said that all incidents of this are bad?
No, that's what I said. I mean, I made it quite clear. I said, I think, you know, it's like I said in the Battle of Britain. I wish every, you know, Spitfire had been a drone.
Well, let's talk about a real incident then.
Well, real quick, let me just bring something up because I'm curious about this. What would you say the difference is between an armed drone? It doesn't need to be a Predator. Maybe let's just say it's a smaller drone that's capable of, let's say flying through a window, or let's say maybe it's tracked or whatever, but it has lethal capability. What's the difference between somebody using a controller to control a drone that can shoot somebody, or putting a gun in somebody's hand and having them bust down a door? I mean, either way, you're still talking about lethal capability. So what does it really matter?
Well, that's my point.
You're still talking about lethality.
Well, that's what I mean. And so therefore, it's more about how willing people are going to get to using these things, you know, because once it, you know, becomes much more commonplace, then the trigger happy, you know, effect might come in, and then the use of them becomes more and more and more. And they say it never will, but it always does. You know?
Well, of course it will, because you're taking yourself out of harm's way, as opposed to, you know, being the guy with the gun in your hand and storming into a potentially hostile situation. And you do, to some degree, remove the element of human error. But at the same time, you still have somebody that has to control the drone, unless you go full on Skynet.
Hang on. Sorry, MC. I just want to. You brought up a topic I've seen mentioned in the chat from Atema. Thank you for that. She's saying that about half of drone operators for the U.S. military need mental health help after one tour. They have to visually confirm their strike. Carry on, MC.
Well, let's talk about a realistic instance here, right? Remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago, you had the Black Lives Matter thing in Dallas, where they sent in, it wasn't a drone, it was just a robot, which is no different, right? And basically blew the suspect up in the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
Where were all these people protesting that then?
Well, this is it. And you could also say, I mean, technically that, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily need to be so trigger happy because you're not in threat, you know, in jeopardy. You could be a mile away controlling this thing. And so you're not actually in jeopardy. So you wouldn't have to fire as often. The person might see it, realize they've got no way of, you know, like 2 or 3 of them turn up, a little swarm, a little bot swarm. and then they realize there's no way out, they might just get down on their knees and put their hands up, you know?
Real quick.
Well, no, exactly, and then the boom.
Well, no, Joshua in the chat says that the some SWAT teams already have drones, and they do have ammunition. I'm gonna look that up real quick. You guys carry on. I just want to say that.
They have the Dallas police definitely has something, a little robot where they can put explosives on it and they can detonate it because they did it.
Well, yeah, there's also bomb diffusing robots and shit like that.
Yeah, but no, you're not seeing.
Yeah, but we're talking about an armed robot. That's what. Yeah, there's no difference between an armed robot, all right, versus an armed drone. Aside from one flies and one doesn't.
Just take a look at what Boston Dynamics has been created. You know, with these tracked vehicles, and you can it's like an interchangeable platform, so you can put on a fucking 50 caliber machine gun on the top of the bloody thing.
It's terrifying. no, but Cabbage, to piggyback off of what you were saying, it's like, yes, that does have potential as well, but like taking away the ability to actually like look at another human being before you're considering taking their life. I mean, the whole like, don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes.
Oh no, memes. That's horseshit. If you remember the so-called, the murder tapes that came from Wiki, right? I mean, every actual, helicopter pilot. I mean, every pilot really. They see what they're gonna blow up. I mean, if they see like a bunch of people walking down the street, and you're strapping them with, a helicopter.
For crying out loud, when you're on a ship,
they're zoomed in.
Having a battleship duel in the North Sea in Jutland, it's the same thing. They weren't looking at the actual people they were killing.
Holy shit!
Yeah, but I mean,
real quick, Cabby. Unmanned aerial system for SWAT from police1.com. The Predator B aircraft has a 64-foot wingspan, can stay aloft. Oh, they got Predator drones, dude.
Yeah, I told you that's the same thing. Like I said, I'm talking about a smaller, more tactical thing. But what was I going to say now? What were you saying, memes?
Oh, basically, no. If you're not actually there, if you're actually farther away, I'm just, and again, like I wouldn't know because I don't have any experience with that. But the closest thing I could say from doing something digitally was playing like Call of Duty 3 Modern Warfare. I mean, that ain't no equivalent at all. But it's just like, but then again, I know that that's the game. But
no, it wasn't that. That wasn't the point that you were making when I was responding.
Oh, basically being able to analyze other factors like under a non-compromising scenario. Yeah, that could give you better information. But at the same time, it's like you're removing the person like thousands of miles away.
No, it wasn't that.
Are you trying to imply?
Cap.
Are you trying to imply memes about the detachment between somebody controlling a drone and just killing people, and just in their heads they think of it just like they're playing a game as opposed to actually physically killing people?
Yeah. Sorry. This was the point I was going to make. Was that this is where like the sort of regulatory aspect comes in, and no, also about this idea of seeing the whites of their eyes. The point I was making before I was rudely interrupted was that if you look at the the video footage of things like the Apache helicopter strikes and things like that, they are zoomed right in. I mean, you can literally see limbs flying off people, right? And then when they've done that, they then circle in order to make sure that they've got them all. They can see what they've done. I mean, when you look at the optics on these things, they are literally, and these are people actually in the helicopter who did it themselves. So why these guys in a fucking container are getting, PTSD, and yet the guys in the helicopters aren't? I don't. Well, I mean, I'm sure some of them do, but they don't. They didn't seem to when they were yee-hawing and hooplaring and things like that at the time.
Well, I mean, it's a different. Sorry, Doku. I just want to interject real quick. It's just, I mean, that is a different. That's a different experience actually being there. And the reason why I say this is because I remember when I was a little kid, and it's like I asked my dad because he served over in Vietnam for a bit. I'm like, oh, did you kill anybody? Because you're a little kid and you just asked. You're like, oh, hey, all I really know is games. You kill the bad guys. That's what you do. And he's like, no. He's like, well, I had an opportunity once where I could have taken a shot, but he always just told me. He's like, yeah, the guy I saw anyway. He's like, he was out of range for the firearm that I had at the time. So he's like, it didn't even make sense. And I asked him too. I'm like, "Oh, would you kill Saddam Hussein? Like, if he was there and you could?" And he's like, "No." And I just always I wondered for a while. And then as you grow up, you just realize just like how precious life actually is, and to actually be consciously taking the life of another human. I mean, like that's I don't think that's like a natural thing, dude.
And that's what worries me about things like these. And that's what worries me about these drones, that they are now. I mean, they're currently. I mean, they're not just in development now. I mean, they're announcing that they're in development now, so they must be pretty much close to fucking releasing it.
Well,
By the time they admit to actually investigating it, they've already pretty much done it, right?
I would like to propose just a question. Whether you're the sniper looking at someone in their eyes before you put a bullet through their head, whether you're the person in a helicopter that's about to pull the trigger that's going to shoot a missile at the tank, or whether you're a guy who is using a joystick to fly a drone that's about to drop a bomb. Here's the difference. When you're actively there on location in that scenario, you're there. Even if you're in the helicopter and you're using the 30 mil, like let's say you're in the fucking A-10 Warthog, you're flying through there, you're firing the 30 millimeter cannon. You're still on location. You're still actively engaged. When you're operating remotely, you're not on location. You're not worried about is there an enemy sniper that's going to see my muzzle flash that's going to shoot me in the head the next second I fire a shot? Is there going to be an anti-air missile that's going to blow me out of the sky? No, you're flying a drone. You're operating a robot. That completely detaches you. But at the same time, you're talking about operating a drone, and you are going to see the carnage and the fallout and the repercussions of your action. And that mental detachment from what you've done versus actually being there on location, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone disagrees, but I would think that, especially considering, as much as I hate to admit this, my generation is not emotionally well coped enough to come to terms with, hey, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, until they actually blow something up and then they see what happens. And now all of a sudden, hey, that person that's standing there, they're splattered over a 50-yard radius, and
they don't have the ability to rationalize it was him or me.
Well, and they don't even have the
but
honestly at this point I would say the luxury of knowing that you're there, you're actually there physically doing it. You see it. You're there. Right, they're so far removed from it.
They're seeing it on a screen. They're seeing it on a video screen just as you are. However, they're also putting themselves in harm's way. Somebody doing a drone strike from a building in the United States, and they're doing a drone strike, clear over in Pakistan. They're not. And that is a problem, and that is a difference. But then again, that wouldn't have been an issue, all right, until the U.S. government handed freaking drones over to the CIA and let them arm them.
And honestly, I think if you're going to be a drone pilot, you should at least have served one tour in the military, because then you'll at least know what it's like to actually be on the ground. So you can at least have some idea of how you're influencing and interacting with the battlefield. Because if you're just basically essentially some kid who just went through boot camp and is now playing real life Grand Theft Auto, and no, I would not trust somebody like that with an armed drone at all. You need to know the repercussions and ramifications.
But what they're looking at doing now is they're not even looking at doing that anymore. With the AI systems, which they're, like I said, they're promoting AI systems going into them now. So they're going to have a great deal more autonomy, right? These are not just going to be unmanned aerial vehicles. These are going to be effectively autonomous vehicles. Now, the only thing that the person will be required to do, you'll have, like the controller will just basically be, when the UAV decides that it wants to attack something, it will send a signal back to say, is it okay if I blow this up? And then the pilot, the pseudo pilot will then contact his, the chain of command and say, can I get authorization? He then provides authorization, and then he gives the permission for the drone to actually act. I mean, that's what they're actually talking about. And if they're talking about it now, the chances are they pretty much got it, you know, done.
The scarier prospect behind that is it also removes any sense of personal responsibility or accountability because, hey, you know what? The machine did it, not me. That's what scares me.
Well, no,
I just authorized it to do something. They wouldn't even necessarily know what they were authorizing. It's just, can I do this? You know, I got a request for a 157. Yeah, you can do a 157. That's fine.
Okay. Tema kept bringing up that they have to watch it in 4K resolution, frame by frame, and confirm the kill. Seeing that day in and day out, I don't know, like drone strikes have increased since Bush. And then Obama increased them, and now Trump has increased. So there's more and more of these drone operators.
There was a pulse temporarily, but that has gone way down now because ISIS has been defeated in Iraq, and for the most part is on the run in Syria. So you don't see the drone strikes taking place anymore like that.
Okay, fair enough. The article I had pulled up, I deleted it because we digressed.
It mentions that too. It says, well, there was a spike and it's gone down since then.
Oh, no, I do remember. I remember that because it's like, at first I'm like, oh, President Trump isn't doing as much. And then I think David Pacman actually highlighted that article when it came out. But that does make sense.
Well, I'd be curious, what targets did we actually strike? I would like to know, because if they're high priority targets and if they're on the run, then maybe it was appropriate.
At that time frame were against ISIS in Iraq.
Well, and ISIS had pretty much declared war on us, and ISIS got pretty damn big there for a minute. It could have been its own country at that point.
More specifically, what I mean, were we targeting areas that were where like ISIS had dug in and they have, you know, mortars or sniper nest or rocket batteries? Were we targeting fuel supplies?
He doesn't discuss that.
Is Fallujah still a shit show? Like, whatever happened?
Unless they blast Fallujah, Fallujah's a shit show.
Yeah, it's still run by the warlords. You know, it's still. I mean, it's gone back to its old tribal ways. So what do you expect? Fucking barbarian.
So I need to cancel the holiday in Fallujah? All right.
Yeah, I recommend it.
That's probably a good idea.
Is it your plan to go out there and visit the 1,000 mosques?
No.
Unpack the flak jacket.
You know, I would like to go to Jerusalem someday, though. That would be cool. I just don't want to get fucking bombed by some Palestinian.
Well, I thought there was no reason for any of this. That it's all freaking a made up thing.
You know, my stance is Israel should just handle it. But whatever.
Wait a second. You're gonna pretend you're Jewish to get into Israel for the rite of passage?
No, I just want to.
I heard it was an excellent trip.
I want to go.
I hear the fireworks in Jerusalem this time of year are really pretty.
Hey, they have a missile defense grid, and it seems
you realize what MADDS has just done. He's just outed himself. He's just outed the Jews.
Yeah, he's a Jew.
Oh, shalom!
He admitted it. He did. He just admitted it. I was wondering when anyone else was going to notice this, because you keep blaming, like saying MC, but he's actually the one who wants to go off and do his fucking pilgrimage.
Yeah. You
I'm
see,
not going to the Wailing Wall.
We have a serious problem now. One Jew on the stream
make more and more sense.
Yeah, one Jew on a stream is bad enough, but two, we've got a conspiracy. So one of you has got to renounce your religion right now.
All right, which one of you is related to Soros?
Hey, now I was raised Catholic. Man.
If I could be related to Soros, does that mean I get his inheritance?
No, you get a pipe bomb.
You might win that one in court. You never know.
I think I'm actually related to the Bushes in some way, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything.
Were you related to
the Bushes? What were the Bushes?
Possibly brain damage.
Oh boy!
Oh my God! Memes! Exclamation point! Perfect.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you're running for president, dude.
What? So
Right,
I'm not your anymore.
Sorry, I'm going to try and gently steer this back on the topic, if you don't mind. Atema has just come up with another comment I want you all to respond to. Drones for tactical strikes are good in certain circumstances. I think part of the problem is that there is no universal response to the issue. It needs to be a case by case.
But
well,
it is.
Personally,
There is
I'll
case
be
by
real
case.
blunt
That's
with
what
you.
missions
The
are.
biggest problem with the way the drones are being handled by the United States right now is the fact that they're not directly under the military. The fact is that they never should have been released to anybody else but left directly under the military.
Yeah. No, it is. A CIA idea was a stupid one.
The authorization of away from the military was a major mistake.
We took a weapon system away from the military
and gave it to the CIA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, the CIA was the one that it was the CIA. It came from the CIA budget. They were the ones who funded it. They funded the drone program.
No, they weren't. The funding for the drones did not come from the CIA. That was part of the U.S. military budgets. That had nothing to do with it.
Is it a compartmentalization thing, and because of information sharing, MC?
It doesn't matter. There was a firewall in place to prevent the CIA from using any kind of technology in that kind of manner to have lethal force capability.
What happened?
All right. It was authorized and expanded, all right, by Obama.
Huh. I stand by my statement. I stand by my statement. If you're going to give somebody a drone that is capable of lethal force, you should at least have served some amount of time in the military, and you should have at least experienced combat, even if it's in just a logistical perspective. Because guess what? In warfare, some of the most vulnerable and some of the most valuable targets, if you want to take somebody out and reduce their ability to wage war, you take out the rail systems, you take out their fuel supply, you take out the logistical elements. You don't necessarily go after the people that are fighting on the front line, because eventually they will run out of bullets.
One of the other problems, hold on a second. The biggest problem with it is this. All right, the military is going to use it for military perspectives. They're looking for a military gain out of it.
Yeah, strategic.
And that thing to the CIA, the military is not even part of the equation. A military outcome isn't even considered. They have a whole different set of priorities that they're functioning under. And as a result, the target list got expanded dramatically because there was no, as Atema put, there was no tactical value to it. There wasn't even a strategic value in that you were taking out the logistics to hamper it from a military perspective. They were making decisions.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to also
on an entirely different methodology.
Hang on, MC. Right, yeah, and also this idea that, you know, you're going to take out people. I'm sorry, but that, you know, there is collateral damage in war. That's what happens. You take out you know, any kind of structure or any supporting facilities like, you know, petroleum or you know, refinery or something like that. Boom, you're taking out. Do you know how many people work in a petroleum refinery?
I don't disagree with you, Cabbage, but the difference becomes what the targets are. What are military relevant targets versus non-military relevant targets?
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is,
hold on. And when you
hang on, but that was my point, right? But this idea that, you know, like, because drones apparently, you know, they always go on about collateral damage. That seems to be one of the reasons that they say you shouldn't use drones because of collateral damage. You're going to get collateral damage when you drop a 500-pound bomb. You're going to get some kind of collateral damage, even though you get it right through the fucking window. The amount, you know, the concussion wave and everything else, people don't seem to realize, you know, what the impact's like. If anyone's around it, and also there's bound to be other people. That's what happens in war.
MC,
yeah, but that's why. Yeah, that's why my argument, Cabby, was that this whole entire idea of the war on terror is ridiculous, and it's some boogeyman under the bed mentality, and it's going to be
not a boogeyman under the bed. It's a misidentification of what you're facing, but it's not a boogeyman. It's not that the threat doesn't exist. The threat exists.
Yeah.
The boogeyman was really
it is real. No, well, we know that, right? Because we've seen buses blowing up. We've seen, you know, people giving themselves hot foots on planes and exploding underwear. You know, I mean, there are lunatics out there, you know. So
Now,
And
MC,
of course,
I
within
have
their
a
own
quick.
countries.
Yeah, no, just to go
And do you
back.
know,
on that.
I mean, this is one thing that people don't seem to realize either. I mean, because they don't get reported on. There are still people who are, committing suicide bombings in Baghdad and places. I mean, actually in Iraq, and they're against Sunnis and Shias and stuff. So they're still blowing each other up, by the way.
Yeah, no, MC, if said drone program was currently under military control, could that have potentially saved U.S. servicemen and women's lives?
Very much so, because the targeting would have been from military targets rather than military decisions, rather than somebody coming back with going, okay, we don't like this guy, we think this guy is a high value target, all right, which has no military relevance whatsoever.
And whereas most of the casualties I was talking about come from, I do agree with you, MC, that the CIA running it is ridiculous. Cabby, would you want MI6? Is it MI6? That's the Foreign Intelligence Service? Yeah.
Yep.
Would you want them running a drone program? Do you think that would work out well? How well is that working out?
Well, we don't know because we never hear about it.
Well, I mean, this is the same program.
Unlike the US, yeah, but unlike the US, I mean, our government has no responsibility to report anything back to the people. You have a far more transparent, system than we do. So I mean, they could be using it on a daily basis. We have no idea.
Wait, don't you get paychecks or like yearly summaries about like here's where all your taxes went for this and that and stuff?
Well,
no. You get a piece of paper with a pie chart on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I like pie,
but you don't. You're never going to know. You are never going to know. I mean, maybe in like 50 years we might know.
Yeah.
But,
hello,
if we're lucky.
Hello, SSM. You've joined us a little bit late in the day, but do you have anything to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, don't go to Fred's. And traps are gay. That is all.
Yeah, well, he's right on both.
Now
good points.
That is definitely the winner of the night. Well done.
That's a formula for a healthy and productive life.
I did, yes. Drones are definitely useful for France and traps.
Yes.
Well, since we are pretty much hitting the end of it here soon, what do you guys think about the riots that are still going on in Paris, right? Aren't they still fucking freaking out about the gas tax?
The French, look, the French brought it on themselves. They got Macron and let them fucking deal with it. I couldn't give a shit.
He is a smug fucking piece of shit.
Like, gas went up like, what, 30 to 50%?
No, it's diesel, I think.
Yeah.
All the truckers and stuff. Oh, they've got to be pissed.
Yeah.
Well,
and the farmers. And the farmers. And you don't piss off the French farmers. They start igniting sheep for some reason. They're psychos, the French farmers.
Dude, I thought like the whole part of retiring in France was so you could sit in a vineyard and drink wine, dude. If folks are getting their mind, dude.
It's quite simple at the moment. They have a very effective way of breaking up the crowd in this French riot. They just throw a bar of soap at them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, God.
They'll make it out. They'll make a fucking gap.
That was dirty.
It's true.
Intended.
Smelly bastards.
Why are they wearing stupid vests? Why do they riot? I'm just wondering.
According to French law, you have to have that yellow vest in your car. So they're using it as a way to say they're all motorists and they're protesting the fuel tax. That's the short and sweet.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Europe is interesting because one of the guys I work with, he used to work at a BMW parts place, and he told me they accidentally shipped some of the parts that were in the European vehicles to him once, and everyone there in Europe had some med kit in it, or at least it used to, and they used to actually put morphine in the med kits because, well, car accidents hurt.
Oh, damn, I bet San Francisco is jealous as shit of that.
Well, they could get imports. I mean, it's possible.
Hey, you never know. I digress. The only 2 cents I want to throw in on the conversation as far as the French protest goes over the fuel tax is, I wonder why they're raising taxes after unchecked immigration in a state that is, a nation, but we'll say a state, that has such a large welfare net that is rather expensive, and you're going to tax the one thing that you can turn around and blame that, oh no, we're doing it because we want to curb global warming. Bull fucking shit you are. You're doing it because you're going broke.
Yeah. But also because they know that, you know, when Britain's not paying, you know, not subsidizing their farming through the common agricultural policy, then they're going to be in they're going to be like Portugal and Spain.
Yep.
Well, exactly. That's the whole thing. They're doing it because they need to find some area to make money that's not going to piss off Brussels. So, hey, we're doing this because petrol is bad. Give us money so we can continue to fund our welfare state. Don't pay attention to our unchecked immigration.
Well, real quick, memes. I think it's a part of the Paris Accords. They knew the taxes were going to raise as soon as they even drafted that piece of shit. That's why the United States won't sign it. Also, to wrap this all the way back around, MC, should we drone Paris?
No, just do it for the laughs.
I think
we're not doing it for the lulz.
Hang on.
I think we should drone Paris, but then again, all you have to do is fly a Predator down the middle of the Champs-Élysées, and I'm sure that it'll surrender. You don't have to actually drop it.
Yeah, but that's the problem. You then just leave the immigrants.
Yeah. To be honest,
you don't need to drone Paris. Just give some specific questionable individuals a bunch of U-Haul trucks. The problem will take care of itself.
The problem is, MC, is that the drone hasn't taken off yet, and they've already surrendered.
Yes.
No, apparently the fuel tax on the drone is too high.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing: the only reasonable time you would ever release a predator into the public would be if there's an absolute xenomorph infestation.
Oh God, I see. That's cheesy, but it's still funny. I don't know though. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe you could release the Predator drone if you maybe paint the crescent moon and a star on it, and just throw some. Never mind. I'm not gonna make that joke.
How much does it? How many computers does Alienware sell in France?
Oh.
Stick spot one.
Dear, oh dear, MC, you really are going down the memes route with that one, aren't you?
No, I forgot to give all that. You have to throw beats of bone now and then. Come on.
I got my fucking noggin jogging.
MC, are you planning to handcuff yourself to fucking Twitter's headquarters anytime soon?
Only if I get to speak to Jack Dorsey.
Talk? Really? You want to talk to him? I'd love to just
well,
kick him
I'm also gonna figure out how to put a yellow star on my coat.
Well, I like Jack.
I would picture MC with one hand handcuffed to the rail and the other hand with a PlayStation controller. Get Jack out here. I want to
talk to him. Oh my God.
I think we broke the stream.
Well, no, I think it's interesting that, the people of France will finally get pissed off over diesel taxes. Like, that's the line they draw. Not free speech, not anything else.
No. MADDS, they fucking moan about everything. You look up how many times they've rioted in the past 5 years. It's like every weekend. It's like a fucking, it's a tradition with them. Seriously, it's like a hobby.
No, it's very bizarre, though. They don't tend to do it though when they've got an invading German army, though, do they?
No, exactly.
That was their weekend off, wasn't it?
If they wanted to pass climate control, they should have done like we tried to do at one point over here. Just pass the cow fart tax.
Okay, I have a question. I want to move. I want to move to Paris, and I'm gonna open a Christian bakery, and I'm going to sell German beer. How long before I get killed?
You're going to die. Yeah.
Must be
joking.
I'll still French wine. Joking. Macron is so far up. Merkel's, flappy little distended pussy.
Yeah, but he's still an American, so he'll be killed.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I don't know. I still think it would be a. I think it would be a great idea.
So I've never actually traveled abroad. Is it true that most Americans, when they're overseas, they're like, "I'm an American, I have rights," or some bullshit? It's like,
most Americans are very quiet. They go about what they're doing. Are there loud Americans that do that? Unfortunately, yes.
No, you just go around and everyone
afraid-
goes up to you and goes, "Yeah, Dallas Cowboys, Yankees, yay!"
Yeah, they're the ones with the yellow shirt and the shorts that are too short and with socks and sandals, wearing a baseball cap and just pointing out every single thing that's American to them. They'll be walking down the Champs-Elysees and saying, "Where's the nearest McDonald's?"
Exactly.
So we're all Charlie.
Yeah, but no, but I just want to point out, because I worked in a restaurant, and it was a 4-star restaurant, so it was a decent one. The people who were coming were, decent caliber. They weren't sending us the best, but it was definitely the better ones. And we used to actually bid not to have to serve the American customers, right? Especially if they had any kids, because the kids were a pain in the ass. And whenever you serve them, like when you go to a table for English people, it'd be, you don't have to go once. But when it was an American table, you go to them and you give them all their food, and they'd be chowing it down quite happily. Then it'd be, "Oh, can I have some mustard?" And then you go and get some mustard. And then the wife suddenly, spontaneously wants some salad dressing. And then one of the kids wants some ketchup. Like the next time. You're constantly going backwards and fucking forwards. They're really demanding.
That simply sounds like a lack of service.
No. I mean, it's the thing, because it was silver service, so everything was served to you. I mean, that was it was, like I said, a 4-star restaurant
service. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, but why couldn't they just ask for the same thing at the same time? It's like, "Oh, you would like mustard." But
you expect the American to think ahead of time?
Well, there you go.
Have you ever been out on a date?
That's my point.
Okay, I have a new life goal. I want to go stand outside of Brussels with an American flag necktie tied around my fucking testicles, hanging out of my fly, and I'm going to play a banjo singing "I'm proud to be an American," but I'll interject a few, there are only 2 gender statements in there, and see how long it takes me to get arrested.
That's progressively kinky and conservative at the same time.
It's a good thing that
no. That they would just think that was some kind of progressive art movement or something.
Yeah.
You'd probably get an actual. You might even get a commission or something.
That'd be amazing.
It's probably a
I'll
good
wear
thing
like
then,
an Angela
Cap,
Merkel hat that says "I'm kind of with her, but she's leaving office."
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's postmodernist irony.
It's a good thing then, Cabs, that Americans don't make love like they eat, otherwise they'd never finish.
Oh, no, to top it off, the icing on the cake is I'm going to eat a fucking Big Mac with 2 scoops of ice cream.
Well, you don't want to be stopping during the act of consummating a relationship just because you want to get something. Like halfway through, "Oh, I want to put the radio on. Oh, I want to turn the TV on. Oh, I better put my condom on." Yeah.
That's the woman's job to tell you that.
I suddenly decided to put my socks on for no reason.
I thought I was eating.
That's a very British thing.
Excuse me, dear. Can you put your socks on?
It is. It's the most unsexy thing in the world. It's very British. The only nation in the world that still keeps their tie on when they're fucking.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you're going to do it with style.
Mm.
Well, unfortunately, gentlemen, it's time for me to get some supper, so I'm going to have to leave you.
Alrighty.
Thanks for having me, Mad Dodge. It was a fun discussion.
Yeah, go drone some children after dinner.
You should see it in about 15 minutes.
Oh, by the way, MC, you won. Well done.
You won't see it on CNN. That's for bloody sure.
Later.
Bye.
MC will soon be on Russia Today and probably MSNBC and perhaps Sky News. The BBC definitely won't air it because you need a license for that.
Oh, he's not Coach Red Bill.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, goodness. Goodness.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed the majority of it, mate. I wish I'd been here for the full discussion, but as I say, unfortunately, you didn't warn me. I thought you already had the panel set up.
Oh no! Somebody keeps canceling every week the transhumanist debate they want to have. But anyway,
oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Transhumanist.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
If
you know,
this is some otherkin, if this is some otherkin bullshit, I swear to God.
No, it's about the singularity. You know, like the moving, like augmentation, or you know, moving. Well, whether you're going for cybernetic augmentation or like full AI, where you literally upload your, you know, your sentient being and, you know, essence into a robot, or possibly into just a mainframe and live virtually.
Like putting your,
you know, I mean, the Matrix
into some sort of digital.
Yeah.
So we're going full Ghost in the Shell.
You'll be able to
positronic brain sort of thing, you know, like you know, Isaac Asimov sort of style.
Yes, you'll be able to identify as a microwave.
Yes, you could do that, or printer if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Matrix.
So
get retro.
Yeah, like all the current pronouns will be out of date.
I kind of wish Kim was here at the moment because she has a defibrillator and she loves to refer to herself as a cyborg, so she qualifies, right?
Absolutely, yes. Well, the whole idea is her and the defibrillator will be one.
Well, I mean, it's rather like the idea of, well, I wear glasses, so I mean, this is an augmentation, right? It's augmenting my ability, my senses. You know, there's plenty of. I mean, we use them, but we, you know, because we take certain ones for granted. The question is, how far do you take that? Is, you know, to what extent are people willing to, you know, for life extension, modify what it means to be human? And does it make you human? I mean, is this the break between humanity? Is this the next evolutionary step, so that you have, you know, Homo sapien as the last sort of period, and then we go to, you know, Homo AI or whatever?
Homo AI.
There's so many jokes that could be made right there.
Yeah, I felt like I was in 8th grade.
It's so gay.
All I could do is laugh.
Yeah. all your data will be uploaded in your ass.
I mean, maybe you could just change your name to fucking Riley Dennis, so we fine.
You know where the USB port's going.
Oh, the US Japs eye. Yeah.
Well, you know, if we go down that road, then I'm just gonna have to fucking legally change my name to Pikachu. It'll be wonderful.
I think that's as good a spot as any to end this show on Homo AI. God damn it. I'll try and remember to put a poll in. I'm sure MC probably won that one. I got beat around a little bit, but then again, it's 3 or 4 on 1, so fuck off. I still think there's blowback. I still think drone use over foreign territory is a bad thing and only causes more problems. Anyway, thank you for moderating, Magic Bollocks.
No problem. And don't forget to come again next Friday in whatever capacity. I'm sure we'll be discussing something else that will cause a lot of MC triggering. So until then, see you all later.